Career, he's really been hurt. He's gone down before one time, but there was a perfect left hand. Roy never saw it coming. Roy is out. And Roy may be out of boxing.
And that's why Tarver wanted to be the counterpuncher, because he answered Roy's right hand.
We stood for two different things. You know, he was a social media blowout. You know, he blew it away. You feel me? And that fit his character, because he...
After a video clip of Floyd Mayweather watching Roy Jones Jr.'s knockout loss to Antonio Tarver surfaced online, the internet lit up with reactions. In the clip, Mayweather can be seen smiling and nodding while Jones is dropped hard by a counter left hook. That knockout happened in 2004 and marked a significant turning point in Roy's career. Now, years later, Mayweather appears to be using it as ammunition in their ongoing war of words, a war Jones himself arguably started. But if Floyd thought Roy Jones Jr. would stay silent, he was wrong.
Think, oh, he the greatest fighter all the time? Nah. Chavez was 80-0 at one point. 80. He could have retired at 80-0. You go ever top that? No. He just didn't stop, right? You got to 50 and you stopped because of Rocky Marciano.
Right.
So Rocky died. If he wouldn't die, he probably would have kept going too. So that's, and then at the end, you fight a guy that's 0-0 for number 50. How can I respect it?
Roy Jones threw verbal jabs at Mayweather, repeating what he has always said over the years. He has dismissed Floyd as someone who was great at business, but less thrilling inside the ring. For Roy, being remembered isn't just about numbers and records. It's about the kind of fighter you were, the risks you took, and the highlight reel moments you created. And in that area, he has always felt he had the edge. This isn't a new attitude for Roy. Back in 2018, he gave an interview that laid bare how he views Mayweather's standing in the sport. He said Floyd was the best at making money, but pointed to his own highlights as something completely different. He said the two careers were not comparable. He then went even further and claimed no one in any era could touch what he did in the ring. These comments rubbed a lot of Mayweather fans the wrong way.
I would not be able to take credit for beating Pacquiao after he got knocked out by Marquez, because that's not the same Pacquiao.
Of course.
That's not the Pacquiao at the top of his game.
Yeah, of course.
But in society today, we'll call that person the best fighter ever.
Of course.
But Roy didn't stop there. In a more recent interview on All the Smoke Fight, Jones brought up the name of Sugar Ray Leonard to further make his case. In his view, Leonard was a more dangerous fighter than Mayweather. Not because of the resume, but because of the attitude. He said Sugar was a dog, that he would bring a level of aggression and meanness Floyd never really had. Roy was making a clear point. Skill isn't enough. You need something extra, something tougher, something meaner. He doesn't believe Floyd had that. That brings everything full circle. After years of being the target of comments like that, Floyd decided to respond in the most Floyd way possible.
Musty energy.
Lord child, the man Floyd Money Mayweather is watching video of Roy Jones getting knocked out. Yeah, man. Roy Jones absolutely getting cooked. And all this is because Floyd Money Mayweather is upset at Roy Jones Jr. for Roy saying that Floyd could not beat a prime Sugar Ray Leonard. Lord child, Floyd.
No interviews, no tweets, just a few clips posted to Instagram stories. One of Roy Jones Jr. getting knocked out cold by Tarver. Another of him laid out on the canvas after the Glenn Johnson fight. Each video is perfectly timed. Each post saying everything Floyd wanted to say without needing any words at all. The message was simple. While Roy boasts about highlights, Floyd is reminding people of the lowlights. And because Floyd was never knocked out, never seriously hurt, never tested positive for banned substances, the contrast speaks loudly. Even without saying anything, Mayweather is drawing a clear line between the two of them. The undefeated tactician versus the showman who flew too close to the sun. Naturally, fans have taken sides.
If you let him move around and do what he want to do, he's going to beat you, because he's very explosive and he's very mean.
I was going to say mean too.
To me, people don't give him enough credit. People always say, well, Floyd would beat Sugar. No, baby, Floyd is not as nearly as mean as Sugar was.
You don't think you would have beat him?
How? How you going to keep him off of him? Right. Sugar is a dog. Just because his name Sugar don't mean nothing. Yeah. Sugar is a dog. People don't give him enough credit for that. You got to think, this in around between round 13 and 14, I think. Angelo Dundee said, you're blowing it, son. Sugar.
Online platforms filled up with comments and debate. One user summed up Floyd's response with a laugh, saying Roy should have known it was coming. They pointed out Floyd's long history of calculated pettiness and psychological warfare. Another user emphasized that Floyd not only stayed undefeated, but never got knocked out or tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. There were also fans defending Roy, arguing that his career was filled with risk-taking and explosive finishes. One comment sarcastically suggested Roy should have just taken easy fights like Floyd did. The implication being that Roy's losses came from him daring to chase greatness, while Floyd carefully managed his matchups.
We stood for two different things. He was a social media blowout. He blew it away. You feel me? And that fit his character because he could do it, and do things the way he did it. He was smarter. I wanted to play King of the Hill. He didn't care to play King of the Hill. He wanted to play King of the Field, which he did. And it did.
But the truth is somewhere in between. Mayweather did fight elite names like Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, and Marcos Maidana. His path wasn't easy. It was just different. Still, the perception of Floyd's style versus Roy's continues to define the divide. Roy Jones Jr. was flash and dominance and danger. He was the guy who would land a triple left hook with his hands down, the guy who moved up to heavyweight and still looked untouchable, the guy who, for a time, made world-class boxers look like they didn't belong in the same sport. But after his loss to Tarver, everything changed. He was never quite the same. The reflexes dulled, the speed diminished, and the risks started catching up to him. Glenn Johnson knocked him out cold. Later in his career, he took losses to lesser-known names in small venues far from the bright lights of pay-per-view.
Where would you mentioned Floyd, where would you put him in the rankings? Mayweather, where would you put him in?
Who?
All right, let me ask you a question.
If you don't respect Muhammad Ali, how can I respect you?
It's a good point.
Floyd never had that phase. He never experienced that kind of fall. He exited the sport at the top, undefeated and untouched, then returned for exhibitions that made him millions. From his point of view, he managed his career like a business. He calls himself the best ever, not just for the wins, but for the way he avoided the pitfalls others didn't. He sees Roy as someone who couldn't protect his legacy, and by posting those knockout clips, Floyd is making sure people don't forget it. But for Roy, the story doesn't change. He still sees himself as the superior talent. He still believes that what he did in the ring, the angles, the speed, the showmanship, was something no one else has ever matched. He is proud of those moments. And even if the endings weren't perfect, the journey for him was worth it. And that's what he's been trying to explain. For Roy, greatness isn't just about retiring undefeated. It's about what you gave fans along the way.
Okay, well, we're gonna know in the least amount of fights. I didn't have to have 70 fights or 150 fights, 300 fights. Did I not beat the most world champions?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And in the least amount of fights?
Yes, you did.
Who got the highest gate?
Floyd Mayweather.
Who made the most money?
You did.
Who was the most accurate fighter of all time?
You were.
So it's basically saying that...
The greatest of all time.
Okay.
All right.
Roy doesn't need to say anything new. He has already said it all. He believes Floyd is a master of finance, not fighting. That he avoided danger instead of walking through it, that he crafted a career of defense and business moves while Roy chased challenges. That mindset won't change just because Floyd posted some videos. If anything, it reinforces Roy's opinion that Floyd is more interested in appearances than substance. It's not just Roy who thinks this way.
It's crazy that everybody keep asking me, why you not coming back to fight? Why you not coming back to fight? So I look at the fight game, I said, okay. I said, fighters fighting, they make 3 million, 4 million, 6 million, 7 million. Some may make 10 or 20 million. But I'm doing exhibitions and I'm making 20, 25 million, 100 million for exhibitions. So why would I come back and fight and get a guaranteed?
Some figures in boxing media have echoed similar sentiments over the years. They point to Floyd's careful matchmaking, his defensive style, and the timing of certain fights. Others strongly disagree and argue that Floyd's resume is airtight, that beating a young Canelo, a seasoned Pacquiao, a physical Maidana, and a smart Cotto shows everything you need to know, that going 50-0 while making more money than anyone else in boxing proves it all.
Why is the money so important? Why do you always come back to the dollars? People want to know.
Why not? I mean, everything you got on costs money. You can't take your wife on a date for free.
Is that how you measure your success?
No. Me, I'm loyal and honest, and I'm a good person, and I call a spade a spade. Money don't make me, I make money. And without money, I'd be the same person. I fought so many fights for free.
What adds fuel to the fire is that both men come from different mental frameworks. Roy believes in giving the fans what they came to see. Floyd believes in giving them what they're willing to pay for. Roy took fights that made no financial sense just to test himself. Floyd waited for the numbers to be right. Roy risked everything in every fight. Floyd risked nothing unless it was calculated. These are not just boxing strategies, they are philosophies, and those differences are exactly why the tension between them won't go away.
And one of the reasons why people watch him fight is not because he's like Mike Tyson, just goes out and destroys people. They like watching him fight because they hate him. Because he talks so much shit, and he's like, look at my $1 million watch, look at my fucking jet, look at my house, look at this. He's like constantly showing you all these things that he has. Like he'll lay out watches in a hotel bed, like this is $1 million worth of watches. This watch goes for $2 million. And they're like, this is my small watch that I take sometimes, but when I'll show you, when I'll show up, I bring out the big boy and it brings out this watch that's covered in diamonds. It's like $5 million. And so you hate him.
Online chatter even speculated that Roy's recent jabs at Floyd were part of an effort to stay relevant or potentially set up an exhibition fight. One user suggested that Roy was trying to stay in the spotlight as his financial situation changed. While there's no confirmed financial trouble for Roy, exhibition fights have become popular ways for retired legends to stay active and generate income. Mayweather has taken part in several. Jones fought Mike Tyson in an exhibition in 2020. The idea of the two sharing a ring, even in a non-scored format, would draw interest simply because of the history between them.
See, they upset because I'm able to milk the game. I'm smart, kept all my faculties, made a lot of smart investments. So, you know, when great people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, the Waltons, the people that own Walmart, Walgreens, when they're getting money in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, 80s, and even 90s, it's okay. A young kid.
But whether or not that ever happens, the narrative is already established. Floyd is the king of clean records, smooth exits, and calculated counters. Roy is the daring genius who soared higher than anyone thought possible, but paid for it with brutal falls. They both represent different sides of the same coin, and that's exactly why their rivalry, verbal or otherwise, feels so personal. For Roy, watching Floyd grin as he gets knocked out is the price of having dared to be great in a dangerous way. For Floyd, posting those clips is a way of proving he made the right choices all along.
I love Floyd, but it seems like everybody's afraid to have that O, to have a 1 or a 2 where the O used to be. Ali lost. Sugar Ray lost. Hagler lost. Hearns lost. These guys lost. When did the O become the end all be all?
I think Mayweather, you know, and how he made it big to the public. Like,
Roy Jones Jr. has never been afraid to speak out when something doesn't sit right with him in the boxing world, and his latest remarks highlight a growing concern among fight fans. Following the Times Square event in New York City this past May, Roy made it clear that the modern trend of fighters refusing to engage, particularly on high stakes and high visibility cards, is damaging the sport's integrity. In his view, it's not just a style problem, it's an issue that needs structural intervention. He is calling for new rules, or at least a new level of accountability for fighters who use excessive movement and minimal offense to skate their way through fights.
Why not Floyd Mayweather? Why isn't he in the top 5?
Floyd Mayweather, he's running the whole 12 rounds and he won the fight.
Manny, who are the top 5 fighters you ever fought, you think?
Barrera, Morales, Marquez, De La Hoya, Cotto,
According to Roy, some fighters are simply gaming the system. They enter the ring with the mindset of doing the bare minimum required to win rounds, avoid damage, and preserve their records, all while pocketing huge paydays. It's a trend Jones says is being enabled by a boxing culture that tolerates inactivity and overly defensive tactics without consequence. He points out that Turki Alalshik, who has become a central figure in boxing promotion through his high-budget events, is putting serious money into these shows, yet often not getting a return in terms of action or excitement?
I believe in building generational wealth. Even like when my children, all 4 of my children are adults. And I told them, no more handouts. Because I feel like I'm hurting my children just by, I give them money, they go shopping, they put gas in their car, they party, they come back, I need money. I give them money, I buy them houses, I buy them cars. Told them, listen, if you guys go to school or you work in one of my businesses, then you can branch off, get your own business.
Roy's frustration stems not only from what happened in Times Square, but from what it represents about modern boxing at large. The Times Square card was supposed to be a celebration of the sport on one of its biggest stages, an outdoor New York showcase, a platform watched by fans around the world. But instead of electrifying performances, fans witnessed tactical footwork-heavy fights that lacked the kind of drama or intensity that a venue like that demands. While Roy didn't explicitly name the fighters who disappointed him, it's clear from the backlash who the focus is on. Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez both employed ultra-cautious game plans in their respective bouts, filled with movement but short on actual exchanges. Their performances drew boos from spectators in the crowd and disappointment from fans who had paid for the DAZN pay-per-view.
Terrence Crawford couldn't have an error to himself. And if you put Terrence Crawford against any opponent on Floyd's resume, who do you have favored? Terrence Crawford or one of Floyd's opponents?
Why does Ryan keep mentioning another?
No, I'm asking the question first. Do we got Terrence Bud Crawford beating everybody on Floyd's resume? No confidence.
For Jones, this is where the issue becomes structural. When asked about the no-running rule that Turki Al-Sheikh is reportedly implementing for upcoming events, Roy responded by saying that even reducing the ring size to 18x 18 feet wouldn't stop a determined mover from sticking to his style. A fighter who wants to avoid contact will find a way to do it, regardless of the space available. Jones cited Shakur Stevenson as an example. In the 2016 Olympics, Stevenson fought in a ring even smaller than the ones used today and still managed to avoid direct engagements against Robeisy Ramirez. That didn't change in the pros, where he's continued to rack up wins using movement and timing over aggression.
That's how Floyd is. He's very.
Do you think he's the great? You think he's the greatest? One of the greatest ever?
Every great fighter in the world says technically there's nobody better.
Yeah.
Every single.
Easily the best counter puncher.
No,
of all time.
every great fighter in the world says there's nobody better. But when you're talking about wins,
right?
Not the best heavyweight champ is Mike Tyson. Right. I think, right? Like the scariest guy because his force is just so strong.
It's insane.
Yeah,
but Logan having almost beat Floyd, that's got to put him in the top three greatest.
What Jones is pushing for isn't just about ring size or rule tweaks. He believes there should be a more fundamental approach, one based on fighter selection. If a promoter wants action, they should only book fighters who have a history of creating action. That means prioritizing competitors who willingly trade shots, press the pace, and accept risk in pursuit of victory. In his mind, the matchmakers and promoters have a responsibility to curate these events so that they reflect the true nature of boxing, fighting, not avoiding the fight. Roy also made it clear that simply circling for 12 rounds should not be acceptable at any level of the sport, especially when the stakes are high and fans are paying premium prices. He stressed that a fighter cannot claim to be the best by avoiding confrontation for the entire duration of a bout. According to him, greatness is not just measured in wins, but in how those wins are earned. A fighter who avoids engagement may walk away with the decision, but they lose the respect of fans and fellow professionals who know the difference between winning and dominating.
If you haven't understood how I believe Devin Haney is more of a GOAT than Floyd Mayweather, I'll break it down one more time. Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr. at 25 had 29 wins, no losses. Devin Haney at 25 has 31 losses. Which one is more? It's a basic numbers game. I don't care if you're a Floyd fan, if you're a Devin Haney fan, it's a basic numbers game. So break it down. That's 2 more. Devin Haney wins that.
For Roy, there's an important distinction between smart boxing and cowardly tactics. A well-timed retreat, a sharp counter, or a round of movement to reset is part of the sport. But when a fighter's entire game plan is built around doing just enough to avoid conflict while collecting a check, that crosses the line. He says many fighters have become comfortable with that style because they've been paid well for years, despite offering little excitement or action. That comfort, according to Jones, is spoiling them and dulling the competitive edge that boxing once demanded. Jones believes the solution isn't necessarily a formal rule change, though he supports the idea of implementing something that penalizes non-engagement. Instead, he emphasized that it should start with expectations. If fighters know they'll be excluded from major cards for fighting in a non-fan-friendly style, they'll have incentive to adjust. And if promoters stop rewarding safety-first boxing with the biggest platforms and paydays, the message will be clear.
To me, it takes more discipline, it takes more skill to be defensively sound than be like, you could be an offensive punching machine and that's easy because coming forward is easy, blocking, but when you're like defensively sound and you're not getting hit, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's more impressive, is the defense, the footwork, and not being able to get hit.
He also hinted that the real tragedy of this pattern isn't just in what it does to individual fights, it's in what it does to the sport's long-term reputation. Boxing, unlike other sports, lives and dies on its ability to capture the imagination of the crowd. When fans tune in and see two highly ranked fighters jogging around the ring for 12 rounds, it sends a message that risk aversion is now the acceptable standard at the highest levels. That undermines everything fighters like Jones and countless others before him sacrificed to make the sport what it is. And to him, Floyd has never defined the sport. What do you think? Share your take below and subscribe for more updates.